Most people will never experience real power. You know why? Because they don't even know what it looks like. Because they're asleep when it's being built. That's right. If you're here with me at 4 a.m., you're already ahead. So go ahead and drop a fire emoji in the chat. And then, real quick, shh, you hear that? Right now, the world is silent. And that's power. Because where there's silence, there is separation. No distractions, no noise, just massive, massive opportunity. Welcome to day 59, which means 59 mornings of ownership and running the system. 59 days of separation. 59 days of moving while they sleep. 59 days of proving we don't wait. We build. My beautiful, beautiful people. This is Raw 4. Where the ones who execute get ahead before the world even wakes up. The discipline they fear fuels the strength we build. So let's get busy and let's get into it. Our core lesson for today: move in silence, win in public. And that sends chills right down my spine if you can appreciate what we're saying. Move in silence, win in public. That's right, my beautiful people. Silence. That is our key to greatness, because power is built in silence. The less you reveal, the less resistance you face. It's Raw 4. We don't talk about it, we be about it. And this is important for a litany of reasons. One of which is talking about your goals gives people the chance to plant doubt. And I promise you, there's more doubters and haters than you might realize right now. And any goal we set for ourselves, think about it. It's hard enough as is. Doubt and hate will only add to the resistance. Speaking out loud about your moves also creates a false sense of completion and is awfully addicting. It's like walking around with a crown you didn't even earn. It's heavy on your head, but light on respect. So moving in silence keeps you focused, keeps you open to seeing, hearing, and feeling yourself grow through self-evaluation and self-validation. It's the most objective subjectiveness you can experience and quite necessary to true and sustained success. Not to mention, it's pretty cool to be operating in stealth mode and learning to be confident to keep your success moves a secret. It's like walking around with a winning lotto ticket no one knows you have until you cash it in. I'll say it like this too. The real ones don't need validation. They wear it and they let their results prove the point. So it's time for a live check-in. It is now 4:04 a.m. I know the chat is popping, so talk to me. How many times have you seen this play out in your own life? This is a question for you, the chat, my beautiful people. If this catches you later in the comment section, think about it. How many times have you seen this play out in your own life? When has speaking too soon slowed you down? If you're here, again, drop your experience in the chat, share it. Let's learn from it. If you're committing to moving different and this makes it to you later, let's make it real, let's make it pop. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let me check the chat. Let me check the chat. Where you at, chat? Where you at, chat? I know you're coming. You're on your way. God's already told me. Patience, discipline, consistency. That's what we're about on the Do You Rules. Live at 4, raw at 4. All right. Let me help be relatable and transition into Do You Rules at 4 story time. And this is the point in the show where I'll give you a story of how this is relatable to me. We'll talk briefly about the Bible today. I won't go into detail, but I'll highlight two stories that make it very obvious that silence is paramount. And then I'll give you an analogy. My story, succinctly. As I consider what this means, silence and the power of silence, and I've sort of fast forward through my evolution of how I've arrived to who I've arrived to today. Cliche Jeff, the Raw 4 experience, the Do You Rules production, talking about you either run the system or the system runs you. As I speak to you today, one of the things that has dawned on me is that what we'll find if you give this idea some really deep contemplation and you pray and meditate on it, you'll find that a lot of the problem is we need validation. And that's not so much of a problem. I'll talk about, after we go through story time, a little bit of detail of what the system does and how social pressure and complying with social norms, so to speak, influence us. But as you evolve and mature in the process, what I've learned and what I'll share with you is that the difficulty we have with seeking validation outside of ourselves is, quite frankly, because we're uncomfortable validating our own selves. Hear what I'm saying to you and think about this as I'm saying it to you, and let it marinate and sit while we progress through the episode. That if it's possible that we seek validation externally, it's because we lack the ability to validate ourselves internally. So when we don't sit with ourselves and we don't contemplate what it is we're thinking, and we don't give deep thought into what we're trying to do for ourselves, we just react to, oh, I have this thought, I'm going to go get in shape. Oh, I have this thought, I'm going to go start this business. Oh, I have this thought, I'm going to start waking up at 4 o'clock. Oh, I have this thought, I'm going to go ask my boss for a promotion. We see the outcome of what we're looking for. It's quite obvious. It's addicting to think about the experience in completion. Think about what we're trying to produce, and then quickly go and get validation and say, yo, I was just thinking this thought. You think I'm crazy? And it's life. It's relational that way. We want to talk to other people who are like-minded. We think they're like-minded because that ability to say, hey, I'm thinking this, what do you think? And having someone say, oh, that's beautiful, gives us the inspiration, motivation, and support to move forward. But what I'm trying to message to you is that if you just but give yourself the opportunity to think through your own thoughts, to validate yourself and become comfortable that whatever I think is mine. And so in that way, not everything I think has to be valid, mostly inclusive of the things I think that might stop me, telling myself I'm not good enough, telling myself I'll fail, telling myself this will never happen to me. That happens. Learn to get comfortable validating your own thoughts. Learn to get comfortable knowing what you need to think of that helps you, and then give yourself an opportunity to think deeply about how to execute on what you see as your end goal, and validate that yourself consciously versus seeking external approval. All right, what have I done? I will say, as I really consider where I've been able to evolve to and how I've arrived, all the greatest experiences, unbeknownst to me at the time, it wasn't even intentional, occurred when I said nothing to no one, not even to my wife and my children, down to this podcast. I said nothing. I just did it. And the reason why that became powerful was because as I just did it and as I marched towards it, I learned all the things that you think you think you might know, but haven't learned because you haven't gone through the experience. And because going through things that you don't know is uncomfortable and can make you feel insecure, the ability to do it in silence allows you to sort of fall on your face in private, sharpen your skills, sharpen your will and your fortitude and your confidence so that when you arrive in public, you appear to be completed as if you didn't go through the mud. It's awfully important that we understand how that applies to us and what that means to us. I'll make a long story real short. The biggest accomplishment of my career, migrating from low-level individual contributor into leadership, once I understood I want to ascend and I want to try to make a change and I want to have an impact in my career in this way, I went directly to the overarching boss, if you would, that was in charge of ensuring people got promoted. And I came to him with a proposition. Yo, I see these voids. I see these deltas. I think if we do these things, we can be successful as a unit, as a group, and we can evolve our programs. He, at that time, because and likely because I was such at a low level title wise, at least on the surface, didn't expect it. Because you have to understand, people in high levels of leadership, when they get a request from someone who's lower on the totem pole to speak, a lot of times it's to complain. Oh, all these things are happening. I'm being stunted. My boss hates me. The environment's terrible. I never have time for none of that. I don't care about any of that. I'm just looking to understand how I can grow. So the hate, the discomfort, the culture, I create my own. We don't run the system, right? We run the system. We don't let the system run us. So I had this very successful meeting and I offered up these possibilities. And essentially he said, go, try it, do your thing. Naturally, that felt very good. And naturally, I started to get exposure to this person who was the overall boss, started getting coffee dates and after hours cigar bars and bourbons and lunches. And people watched and they saw. How could they not see? It's there. People watch more than you realize. And so people who I wasn't really involved with suddenly started to ask questions. Yo, what are you doing? I see you with so-and-so. What's going on? And you start to get sort of a little bit of progress. Your star starts to get a little bit brighter. You feel a little bit good. You may not realize, but arrogance is setting in. And you start to share. Oh, I already spoke to so-and-so, and this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. This is the intention. And unbeknownst to you, especially if you're ignorant to some of the naivete that goes into trying to grow, you might not realize you're just like everybody else in a way that, why do you get to decide that you get promoted, that you get to grow? You're going to elevate above us. You're going to come out of the crowd. That makes the crowd very angry. And so the hate you might receive from the crowd initially is never a big deal to me. Oh, this is not going to work out for you. You're not good enough. All that doesn't bother me. I zip right past that. The difficulty for me with sharing and not keeping your moves silent is that, like a chess player, if I'm 5 moves ahead, but I start telling people behind me what my moves are, then the people who are behind me can use my moves against me. Either A, to help themselves literally by, oh, I got the playbook now. I'm going to do what Jeff said he's going to do. Or what happened to me, the reason why I was able to create plays and move is because I was getting inside information directly from the boss. And so the people around me were going to the boss like, yo, you know that Jeff is doing this, but Jeff is really that. Exposing me for who they knew I was because they were at this frontline level with me. But beautiful people, here's the reality. When you are at zero trying to grow and you're full of ignorance, naivete, and your inexperience, you're trying to gain wisdom, the only way to get it is to fail and then fail and then fail and then fail again. When you get exposure to a higher level, that person who's at a higher level is watching you at a higher level. They sort of understand you're gonna fall, but they don't see the dirty and what goes on behind the scenes because they're already over here and they're not paying attention to you here. They're waiting for you to elevate and ascend because they gave you sort of the keys and the blueprint. They're just asking you to follow it. But in that way, you get that exposure. You feel like you're elevated. You share with the people around you, and now they use it against you. And even if it isn't as literal as going to the person who's trying, which essentially becomes your mentor, and knocking down your image, they create a massive negative energy force field around you. Hear what I'm saying to you? Think about if this ever has happened to you. You think the people around you are your friends. You think they're there to support you. You think they're there to help you until you take a little bit of a step up. And when you take a little bit of a step up and you elevate out of the crowd, it's like crabs in a barrel, especially where I'm from. If you're around other people who are struggling, who are trying to scrape together a couple of dimes, you might forget the fact that they're eating just as little as you are, that they have just as much difficulty as you do, that they're struggling and they see, but they haven't been able to accomplish and act on and execute the way you are. And then they watch you do it. And what do? They pull you back. So the crabs in the barrel, instead of sort of what would be the unified and harmonious and spirited collaboration of people to say, yo, we're on the barrel. Somebody got to be at the bottom, and then we can stack, get somebody up out of the barrel, and then you pull the rest with you. You're struggling to get out to the top. You're crawling to the top, and then everybody else starts pulling you back in. They pull you back in, and they pull you back in. For the simple fact that the audacity of you to think you're better than me and make it out. I'm telling you, my beautiful people, pay attention to what's around you. It's not that people want to hate you per se because you're so special. It's just that you're going to make it out and I'm not. No. That can create massive, massive friction for you and make it really, really difficult to get out. So in that way, be very careful what you share and who you share it with. It's all around you. I'll also say that the greatest explosions for my life, I'll use my environment. When I bought my house, I'll share with you that it was a unique experience. It wasn't the standard way first-time homeowners get into buying a house. And all I'll say is this. I didn't say nothing to nobody. I figured out that there was a development in progress. I figured out there was an opportunity. I started to do massive amounts of research. I looked into what this could offer, what it could mean. And not even with my wife, my G. I came to my wife with the thought already completed, with the actionable steps already in process, and the approval of the loan already there. That's how absolute I had to make it. Now hear what I'm saying. I had already decided where we're going. I decided what it was going to be. I got approved for the loan. And then I included somebody else who I thought was really close to me. I asked them to come look. And one of the reasons I asked them to come look is because that person is very, very good at infrastructure, how things are built. Essentially, they've been a carpenter their entire life. So I said, yo, come take a look at this because I want you, take a look. And when he walked in, wouldn't you know that he was like, yo, why are we even bother? You can't afford this. Imagine that. That the first thing that came out of this person's mouth was, yo, you can't afford this. Why are we here? Meanwhile, I had already been approved. It's not that the person disliked me or hated me. As I referenced, people want to see themselves grow more too than they realize, and grow more than you might realize because they haven't said it to you. And when people are left subconsciously and unconsciously in a situation where they think, oh man, look at you. Who are you to buy this house? I can't get this house. If I can't get it, you can't get it. It brings out some animosity, some secret, hidden darkness that, imagine, I keep my house protected. I let nobody in my house. I pray for my house. I put a bubble around my house. I ask God to protect my house. You don't get invited to my house. I don't care who you are. I don't care how close this. Yo, my children are in here. I protect my house. I protect my house. And that's part of the reason why I learned. Where we talked about in previous episodes that my ability to, I don't want to ever have to ask because I know what it's like to ask. I protect because I know what it's like for people to try to bring things down. So use that as power and leverage. Think about what you might be doing right now. Think about if you're in the comment section now, if this makes it to you later, if you're in the live chat in the comment section later, what could you be thinking about doing for yourself that you really, want to tell somebody? Maybe it's to buy the house. Just go get approved. Trust yourself. It'll work out. And if it doesn't, you'll figure something else out. The other most beautiful thing was this journey here. By the time I realized what it was I thought I was supposed to do in my life, and I had the courage and the fortitude and the strength to come on here, deep into alcoholism, way overweight. I was essentially obese. A lot of habits that were dark and were leading towards the breakdown of mind, body, and spirit. When I made my pivot and went straight into, yo, I'm waking up at 4 a.m., I'm going to do some cardio, I'm going to pray and meditate. Formulating the structure of how I do it, I just did it. I just did it. And I wasn't so much conscious of it, again, the power of silence at that time. But I can't tell you enough how all of a sudden I went from this overweight, out of shape, massively disproportionate human to switching up my lifestyle. And before I realized 6 months had passed, and this occurred during the winter time. Check that season, right? During the season of winter, most people are sheltered. They're hibernating. So people in my environment, in my neighborhood saw me before hibernation. All of a sudden, I come out in the springtime. I'm 70 pounds less than what I was. And it was, yo, what just happened? I even got, you talk about the energy from people. I got asked, are you okay? Oh my God, you've disappeared. Are you sick? And I was massively offended. What do you mean, am I sick? No, it's just that, you lost a lot of weight. Is everything okay? Why didn't you ask me if I'm okay when I was massively out of shape and overweight? Think about what we're saying here. You see me now in shape, or at least not overweight, and you ask me if I'm okay. But besides that, the look of, oh, wow, dude was crazy, and all of a sudden, dude is, the look, I can't even explain it. And then slowly, people start to notice, oh, shit, I left for work early today. I saw Jeff outside running. It's 4:30 in the morning. And it goes from, this dude is crazy. What is he really doing? All of a sudden, they're just like, that's just what Jeff does. That's just what Jeff does. And you can't hate anymore. You can't knock me down. I'm already there. I'm already doing it. Beautiful people. That's how I will relate to you. That's the story of some of the ways things work for me and what I've been able to learn in my life. Let's go into some of the stories that we can leverage for concepts and metaphorically from the book. And I'll highlight two very quickly. And if you've ever read the book, there's an ebb and flow to the Bible that is, you pick up on it. But the biggest moments typically happen after a period of silence. Take, for example, Jesus, who went into the wilderness for 40 days. That was his experience with the temptations from the devil. Before his mission started, Moses went into exile before leading his people. The pattern there is clear. Before greatness, there is silence. That's where power is built. Metaphorically, think about the roots of a massive tree. You don't see them, you don't hear them growing. But while everything above ground shifts with the seasons, the roots move in silence, expanding, gripping deeper into the earth, preparing for the weight of something greater. The trees that last, the ones that weather every storm, they aren't the ones that grow fast and loud. They're the ones that invest in their foundation, the ones that strengthen what no one else can see. And then when the time comes, when they rise, they don't just grow, they dominate. Think of the tree, the big, dominant tree, unshakable, immovable. My beautiful people, that is you. That is you. That is all of you. Your strength isn't in what they see now. It is in what you've been building when no one was watching, including if you've been building nothing. So let them think. Let them think whatever they want. Let them think nothing's happening. Let them believe you're standing still, because when you rise, and you will rise, there won't be a damn thing they could do about it. That's how power works. Silent, rooted, inevitable. Your authority from God as creator in God's image. Trust yourself. All right? Now let's talk about why this might be a problem. The really real is that we live in a world that rewards noise. The louder you are, the more people believe you. That's just the way we seem to work consciously. Social media and instant gratification make people feel like if they're not broadcasting their progress, look at me, look at me, look at me, it doesn't count. But again, the truth, the more you talk, the more resistance you actually invite to yourself. So take a quick minute to process and contemplate everything we've discussed thus far. Immerse yourself in the vision and imagination of these real life, everyday, I'm a straight up human scenario. You're about to vomit all you want to do, but haven't done. Again, announcing goals too early triggers doubt, self-sabotage, and distractions. You share your vision and suddenly opinions start creeping in. Some of them, I'm not going to knock everybody, are well-intended and well-meaning. Some are jealous because after all, haters are going to hate. Point is, they're all capable of influencing you into doubting yourself. Also, often overlooked in this fact is that when you start announcing your goals and you begin receiving unsolicited feedback, because that's what it is, people just want to give you their opinion even though you didn't ask, you naturally start considering other options. And the more you focus on having options, the less inclined you are to just execute. Think about it. There really is no reason to doubt yourself. No one can truly validate you but you. We can sort of sum up the problem in our everyday life experience like this. When we seek validation before execution, it throws us off balance. It moves us off our center. The mind, our minds, it starts overanalyzing. The body hesitates. The spirit weakens, craving external approval instead of internal conviction. That's what I started with, right? You lose the harmony you need in mind, body, spirit to be successful because one doesn't know what the other is doing. The mind is one way, the body's the other, the spirit's the other. And you can't align enough to move, so you stop. My beautiful people. We talk about systems all the time here. It's now a significant point of emphasis for us on the Do You Rules and Raw F4 Live experience. And the system runs you when you allow yourself to be conditioned into social norms and social standards that really, think about it, you never chose for yourself. And this is perpetuated by society conditioning people to seek validation before they even succeed. Validation that is externally driven towards social acceptance. That keeps us trapped. Trapped in hesitation, trapped second guessing, trapped listening to people who don't even move themselves. That always irks me. And they don't even follow their own advice or mission for success. Like, what are you doing? Think about it like this. Your next move should feel like an earthquake. Silent build up, sudden impact. No one hears the pressure building underground. No one sees the plates shifting. But when it happens, and it will happen, everything changes. And everyone has no choice, none, but to just accept it. That is how your execution should be. Undeniable, unstoppable, and felt long before it is seen. My beautiful people, listen to these words with hopes to further inspire your silence. Even faith operates in silence. Seeds don't grow because people stare at them. They grow because they are planted deep in the unseen, nurtured, and left alone to break through in their own time. And your time will come because your progress is no different. Keep it on the hush. Speaking of which, let's challenge ourselves together because we're a family. The Raw 4 Live experience, the Do You rules, we are together in this. Let's adopt the Keep It on the Hush challenge. The next 30 days, stop telling people your plans. Just execute. Delete one announcement post you were planning to make. Don't do it. Replace it with action. When they ask, what are you working on? The answer, nothing worth discussing right now. When you feel inspired to make the change, just make the change. And if you feel in this challenge, drop a fire emoji in the chat. Ooh! Or if this makes it to you after the live, drop a comment. No, not a comment of what you're going to do. Jeff, I'm going to go run a marathon and wake up at 2:30 because you wake up at 3 and hit the lotto. No, just simply reply. Keeping it on the hush. My beautiful people. Move in silence. Let them doubt. Let them question. Let them think nothing's happening until it's too late to stop you. Consider it a covert underground ops mission that you are playing with yourself, by yourself, for yourself. I promise you, it's one of the more fun and rewarding things you can do. Once again, if you're committed to letting your actions speak for you, drop one more fire emoji in the chat. And if this is coming to you after the live, because it will, because God is blessing us all, comment below. Not with a plan, no excuses, just one phrase. Keeping it on the hush. My beautifully blessed people. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.